Do you know, Scott, how many hearts do octopuses have? I think they must be having only one heart as we have. Nope. Octopuses have 3 hearts in their body. Are you sure, Samir? Yes, Scott. And do you know the functions of a human heart? No. Don't worry, ma'am is going to teach us about the function of our heart.
Good morning, students. Today we will discuss a very interesting topic among the young kids. So before moving on to the topic, let's move from the virtual world into the real world. Now, as you are able to see, the heart is present inside a bony framework. And you know what is the name of this bony framework? I guess it is rib cage. Now the rib cage, why? Now the question arises, why the heart is present inside the rib cage? Because now rib cage protects the heart from the external injury, as heart is a very delicate organ. So it needs lot of protection, and this protection is given by the rib cage. Clear? Now the size of the heart is the size of our fist. And now, before moving on to the topic, the human heart, let me tell you something. This is the diagram of the human heart. Now, as you are able to see, there is a thin wall which is dividing the heart into two sides, the right side and the left side. And this thin wall is called as septum. Now my dear student, the question arises, why there is a need of septum? Why we need to divide the heart into two parts? So the answer of this question is because what happened, the right side of the heart carries deoxygenated blood. What does deoxygenated blood means? Impure blood. The blood which is rich in CO2. Blood rich in CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and the left side of the blood is the oxygenated blood, which means it is a pure blood, or we can say the blood which is rich in O2, rich in O2. So, now what will happen if there will be no wall, if there will be no septum, this deoxygenated and oxygenated blood will get mixed. So, to avoid this mixing of deoxygenated and oxygenated blood, we need, there is a wall called septum present between the heart. So, this septum divides the heart into two sides, the right side and the left side, so that the deoxygenated and the oxygenated blood do not get mixed from each other. Now we'll move on to the diagram again. Now see, I have written 1, 2, 3, 4. That means there are 4 chambers in the heart. How many chambers? 1, 2, 3, 4 chambers. Clear? These are the 4 chambers of the heart, human heart. That means human heart has 4 chambers. First one, second one, third one and the fourth one. Now these two, the upper ones, the first and the third ones are called the atrium. What are they called? They are called the atrium. Since this is present in the right side, so it is called right atrium. This is present on the left side, so it is called as left atrium. And the lower ones are called the ventricles. Since this is present on the left side, so it is called as left ventricle. It is present on the right side, so it is called the right ventricle. Now my dear children, generally what happens, students, they get confused which is the atrium and which is the ventricle. So there is a small trick I am giving to you all. Now alphabetically A comes first, then V comes later on. So the upper ones will be called as atrium because it starts with A, the letter which comes in the beginning, and the lower ones will be called as ventricle, the letter which comes later on. So this is a small trick which you can utilize to remember which are the atriums and which are the ventricles. Now we'll see the real view of the heart. So this is the real view of the heart, and as you are able to see, in the middle there is a septum and there are 4 chambers. The upper chamber, the right hand side upper chamber is called the right atrium, the right hand side lower chamber is called the right ventricle, and the left hand side upper chamber is called the left atrium, and the left hand side lower chamber is called the left ventricle. So this is the real view of the human heart. This is the real view of the human heart. So let's recapitulate. How many chambers are there? There are 4 chambers, and there is a wall called septum which is separating the heart into 2 sides, that is right side and the left side. Why? So that oxygenated and deoxygenated blood do not get mixed from each other. Now let's have the real view of the right atrium. So my dear students, as you are able to see here, this is the real view of the right atrium. Now why right atrium? Because it is present on the right hand side and it is the upper chamber, and we know the upper chambers are called as atrium, present on the right side upper chamber. So this is the real view of right atrium. Now let's move on to the right ventricle. Now this is the real view of the right ventricle. Now why right ventricle? Letter V. So letter V should be present at the lower side and it is present on the right side. So it is right ventricle. Letter V later on, that means it will be a lower chamber, and this lower chamber is placed which side? It is placed on the right side. So what it will be called? It will be called as right ventricle. So my dear children, this is the real view of right ventricle. Now we will discuss about the left atrium. Atrium is starting with the letter A. So it will be which chamber? Upper chamber. And since it is present on the left hand side, so it will be called as left atrium. Clear my dear students? Why it is left atrium? Because it is an upper chamber and placed towards the left hand side of the heart. So it is called as left atrium, and this is the real view of left atrium. So now we will move on to the last chamber. Since it is the lowermost chamber and placed at the left hand side of the heart, so what it will be called? Now you will tell me my dear students. It will be called as left ventricle. Why? Because it is the lower chamber and placed towards the left hand side of the heart. So this is the real view of left ventricle. So my dear students, in this session we discuss about the 4 chambers of the human heart. Now there are certain blood vessels associated with the human heart that we will study in the next session. So thank you. Have a wonderful day ahead.